Hello, and welcome to Real Estate Today. My name is Ed Cox, and my co-host is Maria Babicki, and we have a great show planned for you today. Today we're going to be talking about lighting inside your home and how important it is. And I'm just going to kind of use a little bit of my experiences and how much help I need is because basically when I became a homeowner and I bought my first house, I consider lighting is that if you flip the switch and the light came on, then we had light, and that was all I had to worry about. If I had to switch a bulb, whatever was available is what I used, and that's how my house was lighted. I graduated and I got on the fluorescent bulb bandwagon, and I saved the environment, and I was supposed to save some money. And for years I dealt with the fact that when I flipped the switch on, I had to wait for it to warm up in the kitchen before I could do anything. So slowly but surely I've kind of learned that lighting is important, but especially when I became a real estate agent and I met Maria and another agent, Susan Arsenault, who truly understand the importance of lighting. And I have come along and I've learned a lot, but I know today I'm going to learn a lot more. So with that in mind, Maria, would you like to introduce our guest and get the show started?
Sure, I'd love to. Our guest today is Carla Beard from Connecticut Lighting Centers. Welcome to the show, Carla.
Thank you, thank you.
Carla is the Director of Business Development and a certified lighting consultant. Before we begin talking about the topic of the show, we'd just like to ask you to tell us a little bit about your experience and how you got started with the company.
Certainly, wonderful. Yes, I've been in this industry, the lighting industry, for over 30 years. I started actually when I was a teenager as an after-school program that the school sponsored, and I worked in a little lighting shop. And it was fun, and whoever knew that through my years in college, I was still kind of in the industry, always working in this field, and one thing led to another. I had owned and operated a showroom of my own in New Hampshire, and then eventually moved to Connecticut, and now I work for Connecticut Lighting Centers. So it's been a fun experience for me. I've always had my foot in the door in this industry, and I love it. It's always ever-changing. You know, there's always something new that comes out that keeps it fresh and a lot of fun.
Now you're kind of a one-stop shopping mecca for lighting.
Yes, yes. Connecticut Lighting Centers likes to offer everything. It's a situation where we feel as though somebody's going to make the trip to our showroom, we might as well make it worth their trip. What we do is we work with them on their lighting design for new construction homes as well as for remodeling projects. And that's just one part of it, but we also offer hardware now. We have all sorts of hardware for kitchens, the doorknobs for kitchen cabinetry, bathrooms, front entry doors, keyless entries. So that's part of our hardware division. We also carry a lot of home automation systems now. So when somebody wants to walk into their house and be able to, at one flick of a switch, be able to illuminate the whole house, they're able to do that with a lot of different home automation systems, or even from their iPhone or iPad. So we do home automation, we do shades, so we have home automated shades, wireless shades. We also have decorative accessories, and a lot of people don't realize, you know, how much people come to us, just especially around the holidays, just to buy their home accessories. And it's also like a gift center. So yeah, we're a one-shop stop, and you know, we feel as though that when people come to us, we like to have them, you know, go through the whole experience so they're there for a long time.
Well, I've been working with you for a few weeks with some clients that are building a new home, new construction, and you have been incredibly helpful. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with kitchens. So what are the trends in kitchens, and what are we looking for?
Gosh, there's so much. Trends in kitchen, of course, recessed lighting always is the most important aspect. So that if you want some good task lighting on your counter surfaces, people install recess, and that can be done new construction or remodeling. So that would be the first step. And then you have under the counter lighting, and a lot of people like to have some type of task light mounted to underneath their kitchen cabinetry so that they have additional lights on the the counter surface. And then from there we progress to the island, and the island is always a struggle. People never know what finish they should select, how big of a fixture, how much wattage. So that's where we kind of help them and we handhold them through that process. The latest trends right now are pendants over kitchen islands versus one large fixture, and the pendants are great because there's so many different styles and finishes now that are available, and even the glass itself is so unique that the manufacturers are making. So island pendants are a wonderful conversation piece when you walk into anybody's kitchen. It's beautiful. It's, you know, something that strikes their eye when they first walk into your home. So you want to be able to make sure that the center island is the main focus. And finish-wise, the trend for that would either be a satin nickel or a bronze finish. A lot of people like to match those pendants to their kitchen cabinet hardware so that it tends to coordinate and kind of brings the whole kitchen together. So those are the kind of the three elements: the recess, the under the cabinet lighting, and the kitchen pendants.
Okay, and so if we're not doing a complete remodel, but like for example at my house, the recessed lights that I already have up there, if I want to switch those over, is that a difficult task?
No, not at all. A lot of times what we just need to know on the recessed lights, there's three parts first of all on a recessed light. There's the rough-in unit, also known as a housing, and then you have your trim, and then you have your bulb. So if you have an existing recessed light, we just need to know what the manufacturer is of the rough that's up inside the ceiling. Once we have that manufacturer's name and a model number, usually there's like a little sticky tab up inside that recess can. If you read us that number, we can pair you up with the right trim. So it could be like an old black insert trim, an old brass trim that you have in there. We can take that right out, put in a nice fresh look, which could be a satin nickel internal trim or a white baffle. So once we have that information, we can pair you up with whatever you need. And then in terms of the bulb, usually the old halogen flood bulbs or even just the regular reflector flood bulbs were always used. So those are kind of the thing of the past, and you put an LED light bulb in there now. So yeah, we can certainly make anybody's kitchen look fresh and new and revived just by simply changing out the recessed trims and the light bulb.
The other question I had is about underneath the cabinet. I mean,
Yeah.
we go into lots of houses and there's a little switch and there's those three little spotlights. Is there
Yeah,
other
those are
options
known
for
as
that?
puck lights. Puck lights are fantastic inside maybe somebody's upper kitchen cabinet that has glass doors and maybe glass shelves. So if they want to highlight maybe some beautiful stemware or dishes that they have, those are cute. They're still popular, but however, people are doing those in LED bulbs now. So it's still the same old look, but it's just a newer bulb inside the puck. Underneath the cabinet, people aren't doing those pucks anymore because of the type of light that they gave off. They don't like the cone-shaped formation of the puddled look that they give, and they want more of a uniform look. And that uniform look you can get with any type of an LED under the cabinet light, whether it be a very simple ribbon that gets tacked up underneath the kitchen cabinet, which is like little diodes, which I brought with me today. I
Yeah.
can show you. And then, or an individual unit that gets mounted up underneath there. Almost looks like your typical under-the-counter fluorescent or under-the-counter halogen, but it's actually LED bulbs, and people like those, again, because again, LED is the most popular aspect of anybody's home now, and people are coming in looking for it. So to have LED, it runs a lot cooler. And you got to admit, in a kitchen, when you're entertaining, you have a lot of people in the kitchen congregating around the center island, eating hors d'oeuvres. The last thing you want is these overhead recessed lights with LED bulbs in it producing heat, and under the cabinet lights producing heat. So everybody's doing the LED. And the halogen would produce the heat, and the halogen bulbs in the recess would produce the heat. The LED bulbs are cooler. So right now, the main ingredients to change everything in that kitchen to LED: under the cabinet lights, recessed lights, cove lighting above the kitchen cabinets. That's real important. If they have a nice, beautiful cathedral ceiling and they have some some cabinet space cavity above the upper cabinets, you can take and put some nice cove lighting up there.
And when you flip the light on, you get light instantly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the nice thing about the LED too, is that they're not, it depends on the manufacturer. Connecticut Lighting Centers carry some really nice brands where they don't have a delayed response. They are instant gratification. You turn the light on and they go on immediately, unlike some other types of bulbs that are out there on the market.
Yeah, I have good experience with that.
But LEDs seem like they just took off. I mean, it seems like it wasn't that long ago we were using regular bulbs, and now everything's changed.
I know. Actually, LED bulbs have been out for quite some time, 3 or 4 years, going very strong. It was just that a lot of people were more hesitant to want to buy them because they were new. They were very expensive when they first came out. Prices have come down tremendously. So right now we do see that people are coming in and they just want everything LED because it's energy efficient. It saves them on their energy bill. The bulbs run a lot cooler, and you have a longer life to an LED bulb. People are tired of getting up on a chair or ladder to change the light bulb out of a light fixture or a recess can, or even a table lamp in the house. Changing bulbs is just not fun. So a lot of people like the LED because you get at least 50,000 hours out of it. So that's at least a 5-year use on an average homeowner to have the life of the bulb. So the life expectancy of bulbs is real important to people now too. So it's a wonderful return on investment. They could be expensive, but in the long run, it does save you on your energy bill and not having to replace them as frequently.
So you do have people who are just changing fixtures just to save money?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Definitely. We have a lot of people coming in. Like I say, we at Connecticut Lighting Centers can actually do a return on investment chart for them. So if somebody comes in and knows how much they're paying per kilowatt on their electric bill, we're able to take the conversion and tell them, all right, initially up front, if you changed all your bulbs in your house to this new LED bulb, here's what you are going to save on your electric bill. And then we deduct what it cost them up front, and then we're able to kind of do that calculation to tell them it could be a year and a half before they see that return on investment, but we calculate all of that for them, and they feel really good about making their decision to convert to LED, and they don't feel like their money's wasted. They can see that in the long run it's definitely going to be a smart move.
Now, some people are under the impression that the LED is very intense, but that's not true, is it?
Correct. LED bulbs are quite interesting because they come in what's called a Kelvin temperature. A Kelvin temperature is a measure of temperature of light. So in other words, if you bought a bulb that's 2700 Kelvin, that's more of a yellower coloration of light, versus a 3000 Kelvin, that gets to be a little bit more whiter in coloration, and then 3500 even gets whiter, and so on and so forth. So when somebody's not educated enough about LED bulbs, they may just go and grab a 3000 Kelvin or 4000 Kelvin for that matter off of a shelf of any home center or wherever they're shopping. What ends up happening is they bought the wrong bulb, so they get it home and it's bright and they say, oh, I hate LED, and it's just like, no, you shouldn't hate LED, you just bought the wrong thing. So at Connecticut Lighting Centers, we really stress to our customers, we educate first before we actually think about the sale. So what we want to do is we want to show them all their possibilities in terms of coloration of light. So we teach them about Kelvin temperature. We also teach them about color rendering index, which is a whole other subject for another show, and then also wattages and things like that. But yes, it's a very deceiving for some people because they're not educated enough in the LED expertise department of light bulbs.
Now, has everything been perfected with LEDs?
Not everything. Slowly but surely, we're seeing more and more, fixtures that, like bi-pin bulbs, in many cases, are not available yet in LED. But you will find, like a lot of landscape lights have, like an exterior landscape fixture has a little wedge bulb that comes in LED now as well. So it's amazing. Some of the strangest bulbs are coming out in LED, and some of the bread and butter bulbs that you think would have been available now aren't, but majority are converting over. Your big companies like Sylvania, GE, things like that, Westinghouse, they're slowly but surely making sure that every bulb gets converted to LED. But it's it's a process. It has to go through a lot of underwriters, laboratory inspections, and meet a lot of expectations. So, but it's getting there.
So we talked of trends in kitchens. Is there a trend in bathrooms that would be different?
Sure, yeah. Again, trends are always kind of bringing you back to the finish. So a lot of times people want to match the faucet. So somebody will come in and have a polished nickel faucet. Well, let's pick out some lights to coordinate with the faucet and kind of bring it all together. Trends are most people do like wall sconces on each side of the mirror versus a light that goes above the mirror. However, you got to be careful because if it's spread too far apart, each sconce, you don't really want a sconce 5 feet apart from one another another, because if you're standing straight in the middle of your mirror, you're not going to have light coming at your face. So, the wall sconces are a great idea on each side of the mirror, as long as they're within like a 4 feet minimum, 3 to 4 feet. Anything above the mirror will come at you. The light will come at your face and give you a good illumination, but you also want that filler light to light the rest of the bathroom. So we're not just talking about the vanity. You need to have some light in the background. So installing a recessed light or a simple overhead light fixture in the bathroom to help fill the light. Let's say, admit it, there's people's eyes that are aging, and the light seems to get dimmer and dimmer as we get older. It's it's at the point now that we really like to make sure people have adequate amount of light. So we make sure they do wall-mounted lights, overhead lights, and make sure that bathroom is well lit. In terms of trends, it all depends on the flavor of the house. We find simplicity is the cleanest look in bathrooms now, so people like a very clean look. They're not going to go for anything too fancy and dressy. I mean, you will occasionally have that customer who wants, crystal and a lot of bling, but the simplicity look is kind of in for bathrooms.
How about for foyers?
Foyers. It depends on a foyer. If it's an average height ceiling, meaning like a ceiling that is like an 8 foot, 7.5 foot, 8 foot ceiling versus a 2 stories, 16 foot ceiling. A nice hanging fixture for a foyer would be wonderful. What the trend is that, again, ease of having to clean fixtures and things. So they'll do something called an Aladdin light lift, which is a lift that actually takes the chandelier down mechanically from the ceiling so you can clean it and change light bulbs. So you do find some people who will allow for their budget to afford, the light lift to raise and lower the chandelier, which is fantastic. In terms of the size, simplicity, again, just like in the bathrooms, is kind of where it's at. People don't want the days of seeing all the large candelabra, ornate chandeliers. So what they're trying to do is get themselves into chandeliers that are a little bit more simpler, not so complex with, different bulbs and, 20 different arms. And so the simpler the better. If it's an average height ceiling, basically a semi-flush is very pretty. A semi-flush is something that actually mounts to the ceiling but comes down a little bit. It's not like a flush mount. So it gives you a little bit of a little sense of an elegant look. I mean, your foyer is your entry piece for your home, so when people come to visit you, it's their first impression. So you want to have something pretty, not too overwhelming for the space. We at Connecticut Light-In will help you with what the specification guidelines are in terms of how to pick out the right size for the chandelier or for that semi-flush fixture, because there are rules of thumb in terms of what size you should have, how much height from the floor to the bottom of the fixture, and how much width to the fixture. So we have a lot of professional salespeople that know what those rules of thumb are, and we'll help you with that. So in terms of trends, simple, clean, maybe match the finish up to the hardware on the front door. If your hardware knob is maybe satin nickel or bronze, and that's, the piece that you're going to see when somebody opens the door into the house, make that overhead fixture to coordinate with that.
As far, go ahead.
Well, when we came to the lighting center to prepare for the show, we had a conversation about a globe.
Oh.
And I think that was a trend that's,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still on, but you can tell us about that. But the very next day I was showing a home, and the first thing I noticed when I walked in the dining room was this big globe, and I probably wouldn't have paid a second of attention to it until we talked about it.
Right. I think you're talking about the orbs that we have in
Orbs,
the showroom.
orbs.
Yeah,
Got
the
it.
orbs. That's
Orbs.
okay.
Sorry.
I knew what you meant. The orbs are fantastic. They are unique. There's a lot that are very dainty in design or very heavy in design. They come in all different sizes, all different finishes. We saw a huge trend in the orbs over the past couple years. Some people are still buying them, and we're going into a little bit of a slightly different look these days. More of that industrial look is very popular right now. So we find a lot of people are looking for, again, simplicity, industrial design, exposed light bulbs. What's nice about the orbs, there's no glass, and people don't want to clean glass in their entryways or in their chandelier above their dining room table.
Yeah, that's where
so,
this one was.
the less glass, the better it is for the homeowner, so they don't have to get up there and clean as frequently. But the orbs are great.
When people come into your showroom, if they're buying fixtures, which area of the house on the inside of the house do you find that they spend the most money on?
Again, the conversation areas of the home are always the kitchen, and if it's an open concept kitchen into the family room, that's where the money is kind of spent. If somebody does a lot of entertaining in the dining room, maybe has every weekend a large gathering for a dinner, that dining room chandelier is going to become the focal point for them. So the money, primarily the kitchen. We always find people want the kitchen, and in real estate, as you know, Maria, is that people tend to go to look at a house, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, the kitchen's not updated. I don't want to buy it." Or they may say, "Oh my God, look at the kitchen. I don't care about the rest of the house. The kitchen looks great. It's all updated. I want it." So I would say the kitchen is the most key element to the house. Start there and then work your way out.
Now, how do you guide someone who comes into your store and they're really, they don't even know where to begin or what their taste even is?
Right. There's a lot of people that do come in and get overwhelmed because at Connecticut Lighting Centers, as you know, we have a ton to select from. And they do spend a long time in there shopping around and trying to find the right piece. But again, our sales professionals at our showroom are really good at really, zoning in on what that client really needs. They know the questions to ask to make sure that client knows exactly what they should be looking for. So we just start by saying, what is your taste? What's your style? What's your finish? How big of a room? And, we can gear them right in. I mean, there may be 100 pendants right in front of them, but we can just by a few simple questions say, you know what? These 4 are probably the ones that you want to really focus in on, and this is why. And they'll go through the scenario of, the pros and cons of each one and tell you. So really come in, walk around, get a good feel, but leave it to our professionals, our sales consultants, to really guide you better and handhold you through the whole process.
Okay. Now you have something very interesting across the street from your store. It's Restoration Lighting Gallery, and you do things with retro lighting and estate lighting.
We do, yeah. Restoration Lighting Gallery is fantastic. We do a ton of business out of that showroom all across the United States because we carry unique pieces, one-of-a-kind period pieces from our owner of our company, David Director, goes a couple times a year to various shows where he's able to buy estate sale pieces, one of a kind. He has a very sharp eye to select a piece that he knows that nobody else is ever going to be able to find. And that's kind of what sets us against a lot of our competitors, is that Restoration Lighting Gallery will carry a piece one of a kind. We have people from across the United States calling us looking for maybe 1812 Victorian chandelier, blah, blah, blah. We will find that for them. Our men, our craftsmen over at Restoration Lighting Gallery are fantastic. When our owner, David, comes back with pieces that he has purchased, the craftsmen refurbish these pieces. They bring them right down. They strip the brass right off. They rewire. They take and they now rebrass, re-lacquer, rewire, and that fixture looks beautiful, but it keeps the integrity of the fixture. It makes it look just like it's the authentic state that it was in originally, maybe 200 years ago. So Restoration Lighting Gallery has distinctive looks, one-of-a-kind period pieces, but additionally we also manufacture our own fixtures over there where we do a lot of work with chain stores. Very large companies will contact us and say, it could be a women's clothing store that we have to make 20 drums for. And so they'll, tell us what fabrics they're looking for. We have a frame, we mount it on that, and we now produce different types of fixtures for different chain stores. And we do a lot of hotel business out of that one store. So it's a very unique business, and we've had that now for about 8 or 9 years, I believe, whereas Connecticut Lighting Centers has been around for 42 years. So it's been great. Been a really good show over there at Restoration Lighting Gallery. We have really good salespeople that really run the show over there and can really help, again, handhold customers when they come in and look for something very unique.
I think that's pretty neat because we deal with a lot of estate clearing, and then you see children whose parents have left a home and they like certain pieces, like certain lighting fixtures, but it just doesn't make sense in the contemporary setting. So that's kind of a nice way to handle something like that.
We, in fact, I was in a home today up in Suffield, a historic home built right around 1800, and this man is an historic architectural, and so everything in his house, it's just a spectacular home. I would suspect that if he were looking for a lamp, he would have to either go on the internet or maybe go into that store there. I mean, his home is just absolutely exquisite.
Well, that's too. We try to, take pride in the fact that we know, different types of styles of homes. So if somebody says they have an early American or a Victorian or an Art Deco, a lot of our sales staff have that, a careful eye for knowing what decade, and guide them into which fixture they should have.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think. So this house was built in 1800, so they did not have electricity. So
they had oil lights back then.
Oil lights,
And actually,
okay.
matter of fact, we get a lot of those and we electrify them. So we have a lot of people that say, hey, I bought this old house. I found this up in the attic. It's an old oil lantern. They must have had it in the home. And so they say, I love it. Can you please electrify it? So we do that. And yeah. And then we have people who don't even want electricity fixtures. They'll say, oh, I love this, but I want to just hang it on the wall and I want to put a candle in it, It's just like, sure, we can take the wiring out, vice versa. So.
Some of the things we've been talking about are more high-end, but I mean, you appeal to basically all
we do. Yeah, so never be afraid to come into Connecticut Lighting Centers. You never know what you're going to find. We try to take pride in the fact that we want to be able to carry the simplest of fixtures for somebody who just, has a smaller budget than some others. And so we have a little bit of something for everybody, from very inexpensive to very expensive. If you tell us your budget, we'll guide you in the right direction to make it work for you. And that goes for not just our light fixtures, but our hardware department as well. You could spend $1.95 on a little knob, or you could spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on a knob. So you tell us what you want and we will make it work.
Okay. Well, you were very informative when we sat down with you. You said electric codes differ from town to town. So how does that impact what you do?
Yes. What happens is that we do a lot of new construction projects and we work with blueprints. Mm-hmm. So for an example, if somebody comes in and the initial consult is for them to sit with us, we walk them through the plan. We talk about different options. And somebody may say, let's just say as an example, in a master bath, they want to hang a little quaint, shabby chic chandelier above the 4-footed tub. And they want that look. And some towns, you can't do that, and other towns you can. So, there's a lot of codes for every town. We try to, be up on, what the codes are per each town, but it's very difficult for us, obviously, and they change. It also depends on the inspector for the town, but so we let the homeowner know that these are your options A, B, and C. Now go back to your electrician and see if you're able to do that. And if you're able to do that, great. And if you're not, then we'll come up with plan B. And but yes, codes are very tricky. You have to abide by codes in this business, especially when it's a new construction process. We don't want to get anybody into a predicament where they're going to hold up the closing of their home because of the fact that maybe a fixture was installed incorrectly or in the wrong spot or not to code. So, we always try to head off those problems before they become a problem.
Well, we're nearing the end of our show, but I just want to ask you one more question. The retro light bulbs that kind of give off a warm glow, what are those called?
Nostalgic bulbs. I brought one with me today.
Okay.
They're fantastic. They have that old Edison look. Mm-hmm. Nostalgic bulbs are becoming more and more popular. Right now, they are a little yellow in coloration. They did come out with an LED form that's a little bit brighter, but some people like that yellow coloration of light.
Okay. We have about 1 minute left. Can we look through these very
Certainly,
quickly?
Yes. This is the nostalgic bulb. It's just, like I said, an old Edison look.
Yes.
It's fantastic. It looks great in kitchen pendants, chandeliers, exterior lights, very popular. Just real quick, this is a PAR 30 LED, something you would use in a recessed light. Okay. This type of fixture, this type of bulb comes in different Kelvin temperatures, as we talked about, and different beam spreads. This is an MR16 LED bulb, used in very small, inconspicuous recessed lights. And then here is just a real quick example of LED ribbon light. And LED ribbon light comes, as we said, in different Kelvin temperatures. This can be mounted under cabinets in coves. People have cupolas on top of their barns, garages, and they want to light inside. We do a lot of this. Commercially, residentially, Connecticut Lighting Centers does a lot of restaurants. We do a lot of retail stores. So products like these we use nonstop in those types of businesses. Residential homes, we find the perfect fit for where these can go.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming to the show.
having
Your
me.
wealth of knowledge.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And for the viewers out there, if you need help with your lighting, Carla's your girl. Okay. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.